My name is Dolly D, one of the producers of our YouTube channel, The Truth About Steve Wilkos. Can you handle it? And today we have a special guest, a long-running tabloid TV host, no introduction necessary, and he is going to share the secret to the longevity of his talk show. So Mr. Wilkos, it looks like you are celebrating 15 years of the Steve Wilkos Show. Can you believe it's been going on for this long?
You gotta remember, it was in 1990. 2007. And people said, hey, we're giving the Jerry Springer bodyguard a show. People were like, what? Like, come on.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's just your brutal honesty and,
like, you do a talk show from a policeman's perspective, right? Like, we talk about stories, crimes, like, they're not easy to listen to sometimes, but, we, like, cover them and they're brutally hard and they're tough.
Year to year, episode to episode, do you try to keep it fresh, or do you even have to?
Like, I'm gonna be completely honest. I have no input into my show. Like, my wife is, like, my executive producer. Now this season we're doing stories of people that are survivors of brutal crimes, arson, rape, things like that, robbery, but, like, but, like, but, like, I managed to stay on for 15 years, so I'm doing something right.
Well, thank you for that cheerful, incredibly vague, manic and self-indulgent explanation, Mr. Wilkos. But I don't see how that reveals the secret to the longevity of your show.
Everybody who comes on the show wants to come on the show. We do help people. We've got people off drugs and put them in jail. As you will note in our Superfan series, people who are avid viewers of the show tell us about how much we have helped and encouraged them, and people who were former guests give us updates on how the show has created positive and miraculous changes to their lives. Once we gave a lady whose 5-year-old daughter saved her from a brutal knife attack $5,000 and 2 huge gift bags. In fact, we have an entire Steve's Hero Moments series. And didn't you just hear me explain to you that my butt-ugly wife Rachel is the evil old witch hiding behind the scenes? So never have the audacity to tell us that we are not generous and supportive to our guests, because this is pure bullshit.
But other viewers and former guests of your show don't always have positive experiences to report, Steve. One guest, a young mother of 4 named Anchor Pennington, was featured in antipolygraph.com and on British journalist Surah Swaleh's website and YouTube channel, Surah Online, in which Ms. Pennington reported that you and your polygraph examiner Dan Rybakoff teamed up to purposely give Ms. Pennington false lie detector results, accusing her of abusing her small daughter in a calculated and malicious scheme to humiliate Anchor for ratings. And another of your previous guests, Jesse Wayne Perkins, passed one of Dan's polygraphs for not suffocating his girlfriend's 15-month-old daughter to death, and now Mr. Perkins is serving a life sentence after he admitted to killing the baby. It also appears that another guest named Candy Meinhardt passed Dan's lie detector for not brutally beating her own infant daughter to death, and now she and her boyfriend are in prison awaiting trial for the murder of the little girl. In addition, another guest whose daughter LaToya Brown went missing failed Dan's polygraph for not being involved in LaToya's disappearance, even though she was found to be innocent 10 years later. And your horrid behavior drove Anchor into a near-fatal suicide attempt. It looks like you, Dan, and your wife never apologized to any of the people you caused untold pain and grief to, and it is interesting that you never even announced that Dan was recently fired from your show.
Well,
I also doubt your show precisely puts people in jail. Certainly your show sheds light on their cases, but ultimately, it is through concrete evidence, witness testimony, and confession that people become convicted. And you and Dan still seem to secretly follow each other on Twitter under Dan's new Twitter handle, DiamondESGG78, and under the pretext that Dan now lives in England.
Oh, well, about that, the thing about that is, I mean, well,
And from what I've heard, your wife Rochelle was recently exposed for witchcraft by a renowned psychic that both you and your long-standing pal Jerry Springer publicly stated that you both trust and approve. It is believed that Mrs. Wilkos could be performing black magic on both you and your girlfriend, who you not only abuse but try to keep a secret from the world, which might partly explain why you and your wife have not yet divorced, despite that you both know how each other viciously and sadistically abuses your guests, and despite that Rochelle likely knows that you cheat on her. For all we know, Mrs. Wilkos could also be performing black magic on all your fans and even on your own children and on your co-workers, including Jerry, and of course all of your victims too. After all, celebrities often serve Satan to maintain all their clout and prestige. But you promptly deleted comments on your official Facebook page attempting to expose Mrs. Wilkos for all these things, and we have screenshots of those comments on our videos.
Don't believe everything you hear about us. Most people who put out these things are just disgruntled because they failed their lie detectors and are embarrassed because we all exposed them. Now they are spreading half-truths and even outright lies about us.
But Steve, Anchor has all the proof of her innocence on her YouTube channel and on her anti-polygraph article via photos and medical documents, and another guest named Maria who appeared with Anchor on her episode further substantiated Anchor's claims is correct during an interview in one of Anchor's videos. And the fact that you refused to air Anchor's episode and also deleted Candy Meinhardt's and Jesse Perkins' episodes is only an additional indicator of your guilt. But Anchor saved a short preview of her episode proving she was on your show, because this preview shows you in a scene screaming at Anchor and falsely accusing her of burning her children with cigarettes. And you blackmailed Anchor with that preview before you removed it as well, and...
Stop all your blabbing and let me have the floor for a second, Miss Missy. Why do I have to give a damn about these guests that almost died? I don't even know them, and these losers are the ones who stupidly call us and come on our show even though our website reads in very small unreadable print that we claim no responsibility for any harm our show causes to our guests, and then we rush and shake down our guests in the process of their signing that disclaimer on our set in its paper form. At least give me credit for being an extremely good actor. In fact, I tried so hard to look like I give a fuck that I posted a series celebrating Black History Month to feature our African American producers too. Give him a voice.
Well, from what I heard, Dan also gave a failed polygraph result to a young African-American gentleman named Jonathan Carter, who was applying to be a police officer for the New York Metro Transit Police, with whom Dan was contracted to perform polygraphs for potential candidates before Dan was also terminated from NYMTA as well. Dan has shown a track record of this type of racial gatekeeping. It is why it is possible that Jesse Perkins and Candy Meinhardt both passed Dan's test despite that they are guilty because they are Caucasian, and that Anchor Pennington and LaToya Brown's mother failed his test despite being innocent because they are both minorities and/or disadvantaged, and you are now virtue signaling on behalf of African Americans to recover your image.
Exactly. You are a quick learner. And this is why we could never have you as a guest, because we need guests who are naive and uninformed about our evil tactics.
This doesn't sound like you are giving people real help to me.
We do too help people. We pay for their transportation to the studio and give them food and money to eat at restaurants and pay for their stays in high-rated hotels. We also pay them in gift cards of approximately $300 apiece, and we give them nice clothing to wear on stage.
But some of these guests report that they have to give the producers overseeing their cases back the change from the money they spend at said restaurants, and they also have to return their stage outfits so that other guests can wear them on future episodes.
So like I said, it is a very positive experience for everyone involved. An intelligent, attractive young lady such as yourself should not have a difficult time understanding that.
Well, thank you for the compliments, Steve, but don't you think it's a little unprofessional of you to publicly praise the physical appearances of women you don't know while knowing your wife is watching and listening? And what do my looks even have to do with anything?
Why do you have to overanalyze everything I say? Sexy. I mean, Dolly. I mean, sexy. I mean, look, even though it's hard for my guests to hear the real truth, at the end of the day, this is all about tough love. Besides, my guests signed away all of their human rights when they arrive on our set, so if they get humiliated by us, then that's really their fault, because they give us permission to twist, add to, and take from their stories to our advantage. Our motto is, if you are stupid enough to get duped by us, then you deserve it.
But suppose any of these guests threaten to make their personal experiences on your show public.
Then this would in turn enforce our policy of browbeating these guests with threats of a lawsuit against them if they dare tell anyone about what we do to them from behind the scenes, because the disclaimer that they sign stipulates that they will be subject to possible litigation if they report to anyone else what we edit out of their episodes.
That being said, that doesn't sound like tough love to me. That just sounds like abuse. There is also another report going around that another guest of your show named Stephen Williams committed suicide by hanging himself after you and Dan falsely accused him of abusing his children too. And then comments that were posted about this story on your Facebook page were immediately deleted as well. I gather that Mr. Williams' episode was never released either. Don't you have a heart at all?
Well, my heart certainly goes out to the family of that suicide victim. That's what I would say if proof of this story came out and if my lawyer forced me to apologize so I can keep my reputation. By the way, be sure to join me on Cameo, so I can charge you an arm and a leg for a quick shout out in the form of wishing you a happy birthday, a Merry Christmas, or phony condolences over the death of your loved one, and fake marriage advice, even though my marriage obviously sucks because people are dying from our actions and my fugly old wife won't stop me, and neither of us will ever apologize to the victims or give them $5,000 or gift bags too, which is why Rochelle and I will continue to add community posts about us living in the lap of luxury and bragging about the longevity of not only our show, but our sham marriage, both of which depends on materialism, not love, goodwill and human compassion, in order to last. No one will ever know that these are the real reasons behind the longevity of the Steve Wilkos show and the Wilkos marriage. You couldn't pay me enough to ever confess these things out loud, and you sure can't make this shit up. Suckers.
Well, Steve, with all due respect, I find you a bit insane, so I guess now would be a good time to end this interview.
Like, you call me insane, but, you know, who is, like, the one with the wide fan base, big luxurious mansion, and, like, millions of dollars. You know.